Welcome everyone to Ratioed. My name is Harrison Faulkner. Well, everyone remembers that one kid in high school, right? That one kid who just couldn't take a joke. When everyone else could see a joke, when everyone else could see humor in something, to that one kid, it was an attack on their very existence, on their very being, and they must confront it. Well, Canada's NDP, who are quite used to embarrassing moments.
When I'm Prime Minister, I will keep my promises.
Is that one kid in high school. When all of Canada can see a joke, when all of Canada can laugh at comments made by a right-wing media personality, to the NDP, it is an attack on the existence of this country. It is an attack that must be condemned in the House of Commons. Last week, Tucker Carlson sent Canada's socialist left into a complete frenzy, a complete meltdown, when he jokingly said that Canada should be liberated from Justin Trudeau by the United States. Now, the reaction to Carlson's comments are both hilarious and sad at the same time. We've got all the cringe, all the embarrassment loaded up and ready to go on this show. And as always on Thursdays, we hand out the Ratio of the Week award to someone truly deserving of the prize. Drop a like in the video, help us out by subscribing to the True North YouTube channel, and the comment question for the episode is this: how bad do things need to get in Canada for you to be in favor of the US liberating us from our government? Maybe you're already there, maybe you're like me and think the idea is hilarious, or maybe you're gearing up for an 1812 rematch and you're ready to get it on. Let me know in the comments and let's get into it. So all of this begins over the weekend when Tucker Carlson on his daytime Fox Nation show, Tucker Carlson Today, was interviewing Hillsdale College professor and Montreal-born David Azarad. And you tell me if this sounds serious or if it sounds like a joke. Maybe the laughing might give it away.
So I have to ask you about Canada. And what we saw happen there last winter, the trucker protests, and then the crackdown by the authoritarian government of Canada. What struck you about that?
I thought you were going to ask me whether Trudeau is Castro's son, or if you
very much obviously is, and I'm completely in favor of a Bay of Pigs operation to liberate that country. I mean, why should we stand back and let our biggest trading partner, the country with which we share the longest border, and actually, I could just say a great country. I love Canada. I've always loved Canada because of its natural beauty. Why should we let it become Cuba? Like, why don't we liberate it? We're spending all this money to liberate Ukraine from the Russians. Why are we not sending an armed force north to liberate Canada from Trudeau? And I mean it.
Well, I don't know.
But you don't have to answer.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm there yet with you.
I'm just talking myself into a frenzy here.
Now, like any normal person who watches that clip, you would put the hysterical laughing and the absurd comments together, and that equation would equal a joke. Right? That's what normal people would do. And that's what pretty much everyone else did, except for, of course, the radical left. Both in the United States and in Canada, radical leftists, either politicians or media people, use the opportunity to embarrass themselves, to expose themselves as people who simply can't differentiate jokes from statements of opinion. Now, we could, of course, spend the show talking about how leftists in Canada embarrassed themselves over these comments and did their best to fight back against Tucker Carlson's dangerous rhetoric. But that would be giving them far too much airtime, I think. I also want to talk about the media personalities on the left who also took these jokes and couldn't understand that they were obviously jokes. Take the Young Turks in the United States, the embarrassing, sad shell of a former leftist progressive news outlet. They took these comments and just were beside themselves. Oh my God, Tucker Carlson really thinks Canada should be liberated by the United States. Oh my God, a Republican politician is going to start saying this immediately.
The scary part about Tucker Carlson is that he is so influential with the right that if he wants to keep this up, if he wants to continue saying invade Canada, we'll be like 2 weeks away from a Republican politician showing up at the UN with a little vial saying, this is Canada. They've got these weapons of mass destruction. We need to liberate them, to save. I mean, that is sadly how influential Tucker Carlson could be and is actually.
The last thing I'm going to do is pretend somebody is serious when they're joking, right? Mm-hmm. And I would never say like a joke and then go, I mean it, and then leave it at that. Because then you would think that I mean it. Right? No, he's not joking.
Isn't that hilarious? Cenk Uygur saying the last thing I'm going to do is pretend someone is serious when they're obviously joking. Cenk, he's joking. You think Tucker Carlson is really trying to lobby for a Bay of Beavers style operation, an 1812 rematch? Now, that was our little daily dose of American media reaction. There's plenty of Canadian media reaction, but I just wanted to show that because they're all like this. They all think the same way. They all hear the joke, and all take it seriously. Now, even Post Media picked up this story. The Toronto Sun, National Post, the conservative newspaper in Canada, as we all know, they picked up the story, and they too didn't seem to kind of get the joke either. Take a look at how they covered it. Tucker Carlson said U.S. should send troops to liberate Canada from Trudeau. Carlson said he was completely in favor of a Bay of Pigs operation in Canada, not acknowledging that the operation to overthrow Castro's government was a failure. Legacy media in Canada, even the allegedly conservative legacy media outlets, are embarrassing. So all of this brings us to the pinnacle of embarrassment, peak cringe for this story, when on Tuesday, NDP MP Matthew Green thought that Tucker Carlson's comments were so dangerous, so awful to Canada, that parliamentarians in the House of Commons had to unanimously condemn Tucker Carlson's comments. Because let's be honest, if there's anything that's going to stop the American military from invading Canada, it's knowing that these brave parliamentarians, these brave socialists like Matthew Green, are going to stand up for Canadians. It perfectly captures just how out of touch Canada's Ottawa elite are from the people. Like, we really care what Tucker Carlson says when we can't even afford groceries, when we're all going to food banks, when we can't even afford a house, when crime is so out of control that women in Toronto are afraid to go on public transit. This is what we pay our parliamentarians to do.
Mr. Speaker, after consultation with the parties in the House, if you seek it, I believe you will find unanimous consent for the following motion. That given the rise of far-right and associated violent extremism led to the attempted insurrection in the United States, the House condemns recent comments made by Fox News personality Tucker Carlson, in which he suggests U.S. armed forces liberate Canada from the current Prime Minister.
All those opposed to the honourable member moving the motion will please say nay. Nay, I'm afraid we don't have unanimous consent.
Thank God that the Conservatives in the House of Commons voted against this stupid motion. Because could you imagine what the American right-wing media would do to us if they knew that our House unanimously voted to condemn Tucker Carlson? That alone would be just cause for the United States to invade Canada. And you might think that that is where this story would die. But you'd be wrong. Because Liberal MPs in government, actually took this to heart, and they themselves also got in on the action. Of course, they all voted in support of this motion. But Mark Garretson, like I always say, a very cringeworthy Twitter politician in Canada, also got in on the action, and look at what he wrote. Watch how Conservative MPs reject an NDP motion to call on the House of Commons to condemn comments made by Fox News personality Tucker Carlson to use the United States Armed Forces to liberate Canada of Justin Trudeau. So Matthew Green himself also took to Twitter after Conservatives voted against his motion. Again, not being satisfied with this level of cringe, he just has to bring on more to himself. Never forget that when far-right, ideologically motivated violent extremists are radicalized to the point of so-called lone wolf attacks and insurrection, it's not random. I believe it's fueled through anti-democratic rhetoric from the likes of Tucker Carlson and Fox News. Now, both Garretson and Green are getting ratioed hard right here. At the time of this recording, Garretson has 2,488 replies to only 1,928 likes. Garretson usually shuts down his comments on Twitter because he's too afraid to have to hear what Canadians respond to him. But for whatever reason, Garretson thought this tweet deserved to have open comments. He really wanted the ratio here, guys, and this is what people have to say to him. Have you nothing better to do in the House than make motions that have zero to do with inflation, crushing interest rates, costs of food, fuel, and household goods, completely out of touch with the masses? Exactly. These Ottawa elites who have their nice cushy pensions, who have nice $100,000 salaries, couldn't care less about the issues facing real Canadians, and instead are more swept up and are more concerned about comments made by American media personalities. Why don't you focus on fixing the economy instead of, oh no, a mean TV personality hurt our feelings? Grow up. The motion is a complete and utter waste of time and does nothing more than give everyone a virtuous pat on the back. I can't stand Tucker Carlson, but there is work to be done, Mark. Matthew Green, 828 replies to only 302 likes. A brutal ratio to go along with all the embarrassment he suffered this week. Sorry, Matthew, but is this really how you want to spend your time when people can't afford basic survival? We need better. Give it up, scared little man. Everyone is laughing at you. Holy man, real alarmist, aren't you? When someone tells you a knock-knock joke, do you go actually check the door? This is exactly what politicians in Ottawa need, when they're so out of touch that they spend their time trying to condemn comments by American media personalities instead of challenging the government, instead of making the lives of their constituents better, solving problems that you're paid to solve. You deserve to be ruthlessly mocked, and that is exactly what Tucker Carlson did on Wednesday night.
Because all the people who care about their own rights have left, Canada under Justin Trudeau has become effectively a dictatorship. And we don't like dictatorships. We're America. We liberate dictatorships. That's what we do. So we ask the obvious question, why don't we just liberate Canada? It's a fair question, and honestly, we thought the Canadians would be flattered because they're always flattered when you talk about them. They're like stalkers. You don't know they exist, but they've got pictures of you in their dorm room. So if you do a Canada joke on TV, they go absolutely crazy. They don't really know how to handle it or what it means, but it doesn't matter. They're excited. And that's true even in the Canadian Parliament. Apparently, there's so little going on in Canada, like civil liberties, that if you tell a joke about Canada, they go bonkers. Watch this Canadian, quote, member of Parliament try to get some kind of resolution passed condemning this show.
Mr. Speaker, after consultation with the parties in the House, if you seek it, I believe you will find unanimous consent for the following motion. That given the rise of far-right and associated violent extremism led to the attempted insurrection in the United States, the House condemns recent comments made by Fox News personality Tucker Carlson in which he suggests U.S. armed forces liberate Canada from the current Prime Minister.
All those opposed to the honourable member moving the motion will please say nay. Nay, I'm afraid we don't have unanimous consent.
By the way, it failed, and we don't want to be too picayune or anything, but we did not suggest the armed forces liberate Canada. You're flattering yourself, Canadian Member of Parliament. We wouldn't need the armed forces. A couple of your college roommates just ran up the sled dogs and you wouldn't be able to move. We're not actually going to do it just yet, but it's something to think about. Settle down.
Now, for whatever reason, the NDP in Canada seem to be really taking Tucker Carlson's comments personally. They're not even in charge. They're not even in government. They're not even the third largest party in the House of Commons. Because it seems as though the Liberals, rightfully, don't care about these comments because it's a joke. But the NDP are so upset about Tucker Carlson's comments that they've made their own website about Tucker Carlson's comments. No kidding. They are fundraising off of Tucker Carlson saying the United States should liberate Canada and that Conservatives voted against their motion to condemn those comments. This is from the NDP on Twitter. Yesterday, the Conservatives blocked our motion to condemn Tucker Carlson, who called for U.S. armed forces to invade and liberate Canada. Instead of standing up for Canada, the Conservatives sided with Tucker Carlson and his attack on our democracy. Shame on you, Mr. Poilievre. The NDP are now grifting off of Tucker Carlson's comments. They set up a fundraiser website, a fundraiser page for this. Look at this. Tucker Carlson's hate isn't welcome in Canada. Let Tucker know that Canadians don't support his hateful rhetoric. Put your first name, last name, email, and your credit card number here. Please, we really support the donation. Oh my God, it's so embarrassing. Ratio of the week time, and we have a short list of contenders this week. As we already discussed, Matthew Green and Liberal MP Mark Garrettson, they get in on the action, but they weren't able to defeat another MP in the House of Commons for the award this week. I'm talking about Jenna Sudds. Jordan Peterson is spreading far-right misogynistic rhetoric in my riding tonight. Instead of condemning Peterson's hate, Pierre Poilievre is defending him. You can tell a lot about someone by the company they keep. Well, longtime viewers of this program will know you don't win the award for nothing, and you got to put up some serious numbers to take home the prize. Sure enough, she did. Take a look at this ratio here. 5,180 replies, only 2,293 likes. Liberals are terrified of Jordan Peterson because he's offering people an alternative way to live, which doesn't make them more dependent on the government. And he's super popular for it. Tickets to see Jordan Peterson are sold out all over the world, and in Canada are $500 to $1,000 a seat on the resale market to hear a few hours of his obvious genius. How much would people pay to hear you speak for 2 hours? People can't afford to eat because of your party's reckless inflationary spending. Sometimes you just gotta keep these Liberal MPs honest. Don't let them get away with saying stupid, absurd things on Twitter without reminding them of what they're doing to Canadians. All right, that's going to do it for us this week on the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Harrison Faulkner, and this is Ratio.